Berman caught 2 strays today.
Did he?
Cal McNair spoke, and he's like, all right, first question to Mark Berman. Oh, wait, he's retired now.
Good one, Cal.
And then J.J. Watt did the same thing. He's like, all right, first question for Berman, but he retired yesterday instead of today, so no first question for Berman.
That's actually hilarious. Great job, JJ.
Was Berman actually not there?
He was not.
He truly was retired. He didn't want to squeeze one more Texans minicamp practice?
He was not there. I believe he's at City Hall getting his honoring from City Hall.
It's very strategic planning by Mark Berman to ensure that he didn't have to deal with 2 more days in the Houston summer at Texans minicamp. Well done, Mark.
If you go to sportsmap.com, you can find Cody Stoots' Observations, 11 observations you need to know from day 1 of Texans minicamp. Cody, we talked a lot about C.J. Stroud earlier in the show. He had an up-and-down day. You can check that out on the podcast if you want to hear that full conversation. What else stood out from training camp, or not training camp, but from minicamp practice number 1, where the entire team was there?
Well, that's the thing. It's not everybody was there, unfortunately.
Who's getting fined then?
Well, Dameon Pierce wasn't there, but he was sick.
So it's an excused absence.
Excused absence. Kenyon Green was missing. No update for why Kenyon Green was not there. Jimmy Ward was absent. Got to imagine that's an excused absence for whatever reason. Jimmy Ward just signed here.
Mm-hmm.
And John Mechie was absent. So not great start for the rookie class from last year with Pierce out, Kenyon Green out, John Mechie out.
No updates on anyone besides Dameon Pierce?
No updates, but we're chasing those stories. There's no Berman to ask the hard questions anymore.
Oh, no.
Everybody's tossing softballs now. Okay? But outside of that, best I could tell, everybody of note was there.
The Mechie thing hurts.
Yep. He needs the work.
He is battling the hamstring injury, you would assume, right? He was dealing with that a couple of weeks ago, so I have to guess it's more related to that than the recovery from leukemia. Like you said, Cody, he needs the work. I mean, a lot of these guys need the work, but John Mechie, after missing an entire year of basically being away from football for that long, he's got to get the reps. He's got to develop some chemistry with the other guys around him. He's got to develop chemistry with his new quarterback. He's got to learn the offense. He just needs to be on the field as often as possible. For some guys, OTAs and mandatory minicamp doesn't matter that much. For a guy like John Mechie, it matters a lot. So it's a huge bummer that he's not out there, and I'm going to probably assume that means he's not going to be out there tomorrow either.
This wide receiver room is pretty rough looking. Robert Woods, Nico Collins, and Noah Brown would be your starters if they played a game tomorrow. It's not great. Noah Brown dropped an incredible, just easy-to-catch pass over the middle, and I saw him go up to C.J. Stroud after that, and it looked like, I can't hear it, but it looked like he was like, hey, my bad. Like, it was right over the middle. The defense was, like, right behind him, but didn't make a play on the ball, and it just right out of his hands. And then there were just time and time again, it's tough to exactly tell, but it's easy to speculate. Like, hey, the secondary has got some talent. The secondary's got some investment in it, but these wide receivers were not getting open. Like, there was a lot of padding, holding the ball, and, you're like, geez, by this point, it probably would have been a sack. And a few of those from the offense for the Texans. So, number 10 would make a big difference, and I'm not talking about Davis Mills. I'm talking about DeAndre Hopkins.
That's the tough part with training camp. It's always the net zero, right?
Yep.
So you can get excited about the secondary, and I saw a lot of tweets about how impressive the secondary looked today, and there's reason to believe the secondary is going to be one of the strengths of the team because of all that they've invested in that unit. But does that mean the secondary is really good, or does that mean the Texans wide receivers are really bad? Could be a combination of both, but I feel better about saying the Texans wide receiver room is really bad than I do about saying the Texans secondary is all of a sudden really good.
While we're talking about the wide receivers, boy, Tank Dell looks strange out there.
In a bad way?
Yeah, in a bad way. And not that he's doesn't look like he's a good route runner. He clearly looks small compared to everybody else. He looks tiny on the field. He's thin and he's short and he's fast. Don't get me wrong. He's fast, and there were a couple of routes that he ran where the ball didn't go his way, and it's like, ooh, okay, you can kind of see it. But man, he looks out of place on the football field from a size perspective, and it's one of those things that, yes, you could see it in college, and yes, you understand his height as you talk about it in the draft process and ultimately when he gets drafted, but seeing him out there, man, he just looks really tiny. And he's going to have to showcase that incredible speed and quickness that he showcased at the college level to get open, because it feels like any of these DBs get their hands on him, they're just going to manhandle him.
Yeah, you know what gives me hope for Tank Dell? I mean, there are a lot of things. I think his skill set is very good, and I think he will have that speed and quickness and agility to get open on Sundays. But I know this guy's taller than Tank Dell, but Devontae Smith has had a lot of success in the league, and that guy's a stick. I mean, they probably weigh about the same. And Smith's got a few inches of height on Tank Dell, but Devontae Smith, there were a ton of questions with him coming out of Alabama. Like, is he going to be able to stay healthy? Is he going to be able to win against press coverage? What happens when some of these bigger, stronger corners get their hands on him? Is he going to be successful? And he has been. Like, he absolutely has been. So they've got a lot of talent around him in Philly, a great quarterback in Philly. There's no doubt that has contributed to Smith's early career success. But that type of thing, like, that guy answered a lot of questions and he silenced a lot of doubters despite playing at the weight that he's played at. Hopefully Tank Dell can do the same down here.
Tank Dell also dropped a punt, too, which was, I mean, like, defense right there, just boop, right out of his hands. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
Anything good happened at this practice? Jeez.
Hold on, let me get a couple more bad out of the way.
Oh, God.
Brevin Jordan dropped a clear touchdown. I mean, just hit him right in the hands, just boop, right on the ground. It's like, man, that's not good for a guy that's right there on the roster cut line.
Is he the third tight end on this team?
He is not the third tight end on this team.
Who is?
Andrew Beck is.
So
the fullback / tight end.
Quentin Tarantino's 2.
Yeah, Tegan Quintiriano is the number 2 tight end. Obviously, Dalton Schultz is number 1. Devin Singletary dropped a touchdown as well, and that was against air with no defense. A little disappointed. He was disappointed too.
Yeah.
All right, so some of the good things that popped up. The running backs do catch the ball quite a bit, and they do something once they get the ball. Like, that's something that we talked about last week. San Francisco targeted the running back position, running backs, fullbacks, 25% of the time last year. Bobby Slowick was on that staff. You got to imagine that's going to be an element of what they do here in Houston. So they're not afraid to check it down. They're not afraid to have the running back, go out there and run a route and try to make a play. And they certainly found the running backs a handful of times today.
Good.
The tight end room is weird. There's clearly something to Tegan Quintiriano. He's leaned up. He looks a lot better than he did last year. Last year is like that, the rookie weight that he had on. He also was hurt a bunch, both in training camp and through a portion of the year. And he's leaned up a lot, and the athleticism is very easy to see. He is a big guy, and he was shaking linebackers. He was shaking DBs. He was making some plays. He got turned around on one pass at one point that, I think, if he reps that a few more times, he doesn't get turned around and makes a really nice play. Like, there's maybe something there from an athleticism standpoint. I think he's just got to fine-tune what the tight end position asks from him.
Okay. There's going to be an opportunity for him.
Mm-hmm.
He said it feels like he's the tight end, too, on this roster right now. Dalton Schultz, clearly the best guy in that room, but nobody else has really stepped up. Brevin Jordan has kind of passed on his opportunity over the past couple of years, so you feel like those ops will be there for Tarantino. Hopefully he can make the most of them.
And to answer Jake's question, what good did happen today? The goodest of good is the secondary. Even with no Jimmy Ward, Eric Murray made a play on a ball in Jimmy Ward's stead, and then nobody throws to Derek Stingley. So I don't know if that's by design. I don't know if he's just doing his job. The guy looks like he's trying out for Mr. Olympia. I mean, he looks way bigger than last year.
Yeah.
And I saw the picture making the rounds on social media, but to see it in person, you're like, holy moly. Like, I mean, I watched the Arnold documentary the other night. The first part of it was about Arnold Schwarzenegger and, like, working out and Mr. Universe and Mr. Olympia. And I was like, geez, did Stingley get an advanced look on this and hit the gym? And I don't know if the weight and the muscle is about staying healthy. I don't know if it's about, hey, you're about to be a man corner, so you're about to get beat up a little bit more, all that kind of stuff. But nobody throws to Derek Stingley.
About to be a man corner.
About to be a man-to-man corner
Got
instead of all the zone corner.
Okay.
You can't be a boy corner.
Yeah,
in the
I wasn't
NFL.
sure.
You got to be a man, BK.
Bar mitzvah over the offseason or something like that.
He had his cornerback bar mitzvah.
Yeah. You sure it was Derek Stingley? You sure he was out there playing?
It was him.
Not hurt.
It was him.
He was healthy.
He was healthy. He was playing.
That might be the
Participating in all the scenarios. And my final one, it's minicamp. They're not in pads. It wasn't the starting offensive lineman, but it's very clear to see how Will Anderson's going to affect the game. He was a menace out there. A menace.
Hey, everyone. Big thanks for watching this clip from our radio show, and thank you for making the Wheelhouse the most viewed Houston sports show on YouTube. If you like our show, then make sure you subscribe to my channel for daily clips from the show. And of course, you can listen to all 4 hours of the Wheelhouse each and every day on ESPN 97.5 FM or 92.5 FM from 3 to 7 every afternoon.